how can we be more effective at healing collective burdens? Okay, they're saying focus on the collective burdens that are deepest in your heart. Okay, they're really emphasizing in your heart, in your heart, in your heart. What do you mean by that? They're saying the ones that speak to you more deeply. They're really emphasizing this more deeply. Okay, what do you mean by this? What are you saying here? Okay, they're coming to the mind and the heart. And they're talking about the ones that we think we should be focusing on. And they're saying like maybe they're loud in the other world, in the outer world. And so we think that we should be focusing on that because they're really, 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 really loud, really loud and amplified. They're saying, and they're showing like amplified. They're showing like they're amplified on social media. They're amplified in the news. They're amplified on YouTube. They're amplified in all these spaces. And they're saying they are just amplified. They're talking about they're showing like the algorithms and the people that work at the news networks or whatever it is that are like, okay, this we're amplifying these because this is what gets us likes, this is what gets us clicks, this is what gets us views, this is what keeps us relevant, right? And they're saying to focus, instead of focusing on what's being amplified out here, focus on the deep, deep, deep heart. Like what speaks to you personally? What do you feel here? They're saying what brings you deep emotion when you tune into it? And they're saying to focus on those. They're really emphasizing focusing on those. For you all have a different and unique path for healing all of these. You all have your own to contribute to. And again, they're coming back to the heart and they're showing like there are specific ones that I guess we are all meant to contribute to on our own. And they're saying, yes, some may be things that are currently amplified, but they're saying if we're doing it from here, it won't go so well. So regardless of whether it's one being amplified or not, make sure that you're feeling it from in here, that you feel called, that you feel drawn, you feel led, you feel magnetized toward healing it. Yeah, they're really just showing this heart energy, this feeling drawn and magnetized towards healing it, regardless of whether it's one of those that are being amplified or not. They're saying when we do it from here, it is much more effective, extraordinarily more effective. Much. They're saying we could say much for a long time, much more effective. Much more effective. More effective, more effective, more effective. Okay, they're pausing now with that. Any questions to that? Yes, Nancy.
I'll just acknowledge those were my questions. I've been getting a lot of intuitive hits that I need to be adding something in this realm into my basic IFS therapy practice. Do they want to give me any guidance on how to do that or what direction to take that?
Could you say that again?
Sure. Can the guides give me any direction on how to incorporate this emphasis on healing burdens to help the collective burdens in my own practice, bringing that to my own clients? Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm just asking, what would you like to say to this? Okay, they're saying one at a time. Start with one client at a time. They're saying to start with a client who is intrigued by this, who would like to explore this, who would like to dabble in this with you, experiment in this with you. For you have a calling here. A calling to create new pathways of healing in this area. They're talking about starting with the clients that have the real curiosity around this. And again, they're saying start with one at a time. And they're also talking about doing it when they're holding that curiosity, that interest, and again, they're coming back to the heart. They're really coming back to this like heart curiosity, to listen for the heart curiosity over the head curiosity. Like they're talking about like figure it out and thinking parts and parts of that. Like they're welcome to stand back and observe and take notes and things like that, but if they can hold back and it can be this heart curiosity. And then they're just saying to start there. They're really emphasizing to start there and pick that one client. And the day that they come in with that heart curiosity that they want to go down this road. And then, what are you saying here? Like ask them which one they would like to explore, what speaks to them, what speaks to them in their heart that they would like to explore. Make it an adventure to explore and see what comes up. And start there and start there and start there. Yep. Anything else? All right. So, okay. Okay. Oh, yes, Lyndon.
Yeah, I have a kind of a follow-up question around that. In terms of helping the collective heal collective burdens, and then kind of versus working with one client at a time. I think, well, myself, but yeah, also like thinking of therapists in general work with one client at a time. Do they have advice on moving towards working with more like a group in working with collective burdens? Does that make sense? That question?
Um, So, any advice on working with a group healing collective burdens?
Any advice on moving from working with individual clients to working with groups? Yeah, like in terms of like, when you say when they say amplify, it makes me think of like amplifying ourselves or our work with people and moving from just one-on-one work to one on several to many.
Is it okay if I just ask them what they want to say to that? Okay, what do you want to say to that? Okay, they're starting by saying both have their place. Both are important, extraordinarily important. The individual and the collective, and how they impact each other. They're saying one is no more important than the other. They're talking about like group work can have a guise of being faster, and that it really, whether or not it does, depends on the individual or the individuals. The experience is going to be different for everyone. Okay. They just wanted to say that. Okay, what else do you want to say around this question of moving from individual to collective or to group? Okay, they're saying to start with a small group, 3 or 4 or 5 people, whatever feels comfortable to you and to them. Especially to them, like they're not saying to like, if you don't feel comfortable, to disregard that because they feel comfortable, but they're talking about finding that match where the group number is comfortable to you, and you find the people that are most comfortable with that group number as well. They're talking about how important it is that you're all really comfortable with this number that's in this group, and they're saying including yourself. And they're saying that you do this work too, that they're talking about how that as you're leading this, you can do it simultaneously. Say that again. Where, how, when it feels safe and appropriate to do so. Like I mean, they're kind of talking about how when we're working with other people, even when we're in this practitioner or therapist role, there is healing that's happening within us anyways, and we're always working with ourselves anyways, to one degree or another. Okay, what do you want to say around this? They're talking about finding a common topic that speaks to you all, and again, they're coming back to this heart place. What speaks to your hearts as a common topic, and again, they're like, just be aware of these parts and the parts that have the idea of what they think they need to address, and then it may be necessary to spend some time working with those parts in order to decipher, to determine what it is that you all collectively feel in your hearts is a good place to be at. And they're talking about how that's great work to do as well. And then when you get there to the heart, all of you, and you have this common area that you would like to work with, now they're talking about going into your own individual experiences with this area. And they're saying you can witness for yourself, you can witness for others. And they're saying like those who would like to speak to their experience, speak for their parts, speak for what's happening, speak it out loud, they can. They can take turns and do this. Those who don't want to speak it out loud can choose to do that, to not say it out loud. But they're saying behold the space for them if that's what they want. If they're talking about like okay, say this again, show me this. Okay, so they're saying some may kind of want to do it on their own, as maybe as another is doing it out loud, and they're saying allow them to do this. It was kind of, it took a minute for me to be able to say it because I had a part that was like, oh, that doesn't feel right, because this part of me was worried about like, well, you're not witnessing the person that's saying it out loud. Sure, this person doesn't necessarily want the witnessing, and they're saying it's still being witnessed. And they're saying invite those who would like it to invite their own guides into the process. Whether they have the perspective of the guides actually being inside with them, or they just believe that their own guides or their own supportive spiritual beings. And they're even saying it doesn't have, like, I mean, they're talking about bringing their own ancestors, whatever it is for them, that they want that support with, so they can be supporting in their own internal experience, or they can just request them to hang out with them. They're reminding me of something that I learned in my IFSCA advanced weekend. Where Gustavo talked about just, sometimes he'll invite a guide to just sit behind him so he can just lean back into that energy. And they're just saying whatever they feel comfortable with, invite that to be in this space too. And if it doesn't feel comfortable for them, they don't have to do it. And that, like, welcome that too, right? But for those who want it, who need it, who benefit from it, allow them to have that, welcome it to be invited in. And that, like, that also helps hold the witnessing. So the one that needs to do their own individual process quietly while someone else is doing it out loud can be done. And just go around the room and ask them what they need. Have them check in with their parts around what their parts need, what feels safest and the most sacred and the most supportive of the process for that individual, and how they would like to move forward with it. There's something in this, like, working together that happens in the group, that they're talking about it mending fences, building bridges. There's something about this collective collaboration that in itself is extraordinarily important, is so very important. They're showing how it kind of sends out like this, it has an impact in the collective. It, like, shows them what's possible of ways that they can work with people. And it's not even this thing that they're focusing on and realizing necessarily in the moment, but it has that effect over time. And so, like, say there's, something happens in the external world in their local area, and something needs to happen, like, and like, maybe a neighbor needs help or something has happened, right? Like, maybe there's some kind of, like, even like a minor natural disaster or something, and there's just people that need help, and it's a coming together thing. And now they've had this experience of this work, and so they know they can do it. Like, they have parts that are like, oh, this is what we did in that thing, and like, you like, just collectively working together. So this fulfills many areas. It's not just this these collective burdens, but it's also the ability to work with each other as a group. Wow. And that has its own ripple effects. And then again, all those people, it ripples out to others, and so on and so forth. And it goes all around the world in its own way, in its own pace. It's, yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, sorry. This, if there's time, this kind is maybe, it's a follow-up question, but also maybe a totally separate question. So I'm okay to leave it at the end if there's time. But when they said, like, I don't think they used the word topic, but a burden that is heartfelt by everyone. The burden of I don't know if it's a burden, but the topic of grief has really, it's kind of coming from different directions that I'm being called to work with. I wanted to ask if they have guidance on working with grief with a group specifically. But again, we could save that to the end if you want. Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask them.
Okay.
Okay, what do you want to say to this? Is this better to save to the end? What do you want to say about this? They're saying they can go into this. Yeah, they're saying make sure that they're all prepared for it first and foremost. And explore the parts who don't like grief, who don't accept grief, who are terrified of grief, terrified, like desperately terrified of grief. Like like in order to go into that, there's a lot of safety making that needs to happen. So working with the parts that have concerns around it, that have concerns, questions, hesitations. And they're also saying working with the parts that want to get the grief taken care of, that want to get it out of the way. Like they're talking about the resistant parts and the pushing parts at the same time. They're really emphasizing to spend time there and that it may take a while. It's really, they're just, again, they're saying it's extraordinarily important to spend time with those energies, with the parts who have concerns and don't want to go into that and are afraid of it and all that, and the parts that want to just get it over with and get it out and get it taken care of. Again, they're saying extraordinarily important. Yeah, they're really just emphasizing that being extraordinarily important. And then they're saying when it's safe enough, you can move forward from there.